excited. All right, so hello, everyone. Look, you already know the drill. When you come in, say hey, hi, hello, say something. Let me know you're in the building. Look, you all, we have an amazing guest with us on this evening, Miss Courtney Stanley. And so we're going to be hopping into that. But if this is your first time catching me, I'm already having a hot flash, right? If you don't know, I'm in menopause, 41. And yes, I'm in menopause. So if you see me doing this all night, it's okay. It is okay. And so look, welcome to the Effort series, right? This is literally in honor of Women's Month, but it's turning into something more than, it's bigger than me, right? It is bigger than me. And that's what we're doing. We're serving and supporting missions and our assignments that are bigger than us. And so I am Carlita Katrina Basnight-Menendez. Yes, all of that. And I am the Effort Lady. I'm the #1 Black face of women in menopause. And you're probably like, what? It's other Black women in menopause, but guess what? They ain't talking about it, but I am. And so I refuse to be quiet with it. And so you're probably like, I know I heard her pray. I know I heard her talk about Jesus or something. And she talking about F it up. Yes, all of our guests are out in here, out in the world, effing it up, meaning they are faith in it. They're believing for something. They went through something where they had to believe that they're going to overcome it. They are facing their challenges. We're dealing and healing, you all. We're not sugarcoating anything on the Effort Show. Nothing is left uncovered. We're transparent, authentic conversations, and we are fulfilling it. What are we fulfilling? Our purpose. Duh. No one else can be me, right? And you shouldn't even want to be me because you are amazing just as who you are. Yes, you might see me beating up. I told you already. Warning, hot flash. But I got my tea because I've been talking and talking and talking. So I'm going to be sipping while our guests are, while we're chatting. And so you all, I'm excited to have Miss Courtney Stanley, and we're getting ready to bring her on. But let me go over to these comments. If you have not already, you already know, hey, Dr. Joe, because I like to shout you all out because you're taking time out of your schedule, just as we are, to come and join us. So we appreciate you. Hey, Selena, ladies, you already know what to do. Go ahead and hit that share button because how many seconds is it going to take you? Like 1 or 2? Go ahead and hit the share button. You already know we don't want to withhold any good conversation, any good information from anyone. What might be said on tonight may be the very thing that someone's like, oh my God, I need Courtney in my life. And what Carlita said, I needed that too. And so look, let's bring on Courtney right about now. What's going on, Courtney?
Hey, Carlita. It's so great to be here. And it's so great to see these other ladies in the audience too, Dr. Joe and Selena. It's great to have you here too. So I haven't gone through menopause yet. And I hope that when I get to that point, I just have the attitude that you have and the perspective. And I just love it. I love how open you are about it. And it's also great to see how not just relatable your stories are and this show has become for people, but it's great to hear that it's blown up so much and that people want more of it. That means you're on the right track and you're doing the right thing. So it's great to be here, Carlita. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate you all. Courtney had events and different things today, moderating, MC. She's an international MC, international speaker, all those amazing things. So you all know I've been asking guests. I didn't ask for a bio because, I mean, we always ask for a bio. And it's nothing to hit that button and say, here's my bio. But all I asked for was 5 things. Yes, you all, 5 things that our guests wanted the audience to know about them. And so I'm going to go through this list really quick, you all. But Courtney, keynote speaker, event MC, and career coach. Look, you all, this was one of my favorites. She said, I went from side hustling to full-time entrepreneur at the beginning of 2020. Who else is out there saying, I want to take my side hustle. I want to be a full-time entrepreneur. Let me raise this hand. If I can raise my feet, I would do that too. That is my goal, is to become a full-time entrepreneur. So we're definitely going to dive into that because you all, Courtney's only been a full-time entrepreneur since 2020. Right? So number 2, she has a podcast called Dare to Interrupt. Now, you all know we're going to ask her, what is that? I'm going to give my take on it. I'm thinking, because I haven't been up there, I haven't listened. Look, you all, just how transparent I am. I haven't listened to any episodes, but Courtney will definitely let us know how we can listen to to her podcast. But I'm thinking, when we hear the words "dare to interrupt," we're having conversations that people probably might ruffle their feathers a little bit. Conversations that people may not be having, and I could be wrong, but that's just my hypothesis. Let me put my science out there. My hypothesis of what it's about. 3. I was a part of this, you all. She just wrapped up her Beyonce-inspired International Women's Day event, Lemonade. You all should have saw the flyers all on my page. And let me tell you, y'all, you missed it. You just missed the treat, because it's not going to be the same as she do it again in next year or anything. It's not going to be the exact same, because she's a creator. I can tell she's very creative. You all, the event was, we're going to dive into that too, because the event was amazing. The speakers and the energy, y'all know I'm big on energy. The energy from the beginning to the end on a virtual event was up here the whole entire time. The DJ, everything, all Beyonce inspired. And y'all, you know what mine was? I'm a grown woman. How many grown women we have out there? And not just by age, right? We didn't bring it from the point of age. And so she believes that everything happens for a reason, right? I believe that too, Courtney. Mm-hmm. When we don't get what we want, you should look for or create opportunities to grow and level up. Now, that's amazing, simply because y'all waiting on someone to invite you to the table. Go on my Instagram. I put a post up, right? I create opportunities. I don't wait for people to clean off the table for me to sit down. Come on, somebody. We ain't waiting for someone to say, oh, come on over. Here's a little space for you. No, create your own. You think I waited for someone to create the F It series? Because if I did, who was going to do it? Nobody. Mm-hmm. And number 5, she launched a micro movement called Meetings to help address and prevent sexual harassment and assault from happening at events. Wow. So you all, welcome. Show some love to my girlfriend in the chat, Courtney. So Courtney, let's dive into this. And so let's do it. Start? Okay, let's start with this entrepreneur journey. Like, what pushed you, and give us a few tips on how you're doing it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's kind of crazy, actually. Being an entrepreneur and working for yourself full time is so much harder than I think you could ever imagine it would be. Not because you have to know a little bit about a lot of things, and even more than that. I think that's an understatement, but because you have to be everything to yourself too. You have to be your own boss, which means you have to be a good boss, which has been one of the biggest lessons that I've had to learn, where, I've managed other people and I've had teams before, and I always put them first. And, I make it a priority to be a good leader before I'm just a good professional. But when you work for yourself, you don't necessarily treat yourself the same way that you would treat somebody else. So that's been a big lesson for me, to really just understand how to set boundaries for myself, how to give myself feedback and criticism that, maybe I would give in a way to somebody who's not me. Because I'm sure, like anybody else who's a hustler, who's super ambitious, who's really driven, it's so easy to be your harshest critic, and it's so easy to push yourself too much sometimes. So that's been a really interesting lesson that I've had to learn, and I've had to become a better boss to myself. But let me just back up a second. So you mentioned, Carlika, that I launched my full-time business. So I took all my side hustles that I had going on behind the scenes, which was writing for different magazines and speaking at conferences and emceeing and doing some coaching here and there. I took all of that and I decided to make that my full-time thing, just growing those projects and focusing in on the projects I really love. But I did this at the beginning of the pandemic, right before it started. So when I dropped my full-time job and I said goodbye to my comfortable paycheck, I had no idea what I was stepping into. All the stuff that freaked me out with starting my own business and not knowing a whole lot about certain things like accounting and taxes and like all the stuff that you don't really care that much about, but you probably should care a little bit about. All that stuff was stressful. But nothing was more stressful than when the world just completely flipped upside down. So last year, I think probably would have been the most difficult year to launch a business full time. But getting through last year and just learning and rolling with the punches and just growing and just owning the pain that came with last year, that I think set me up to be significantly stronger moving forward, because it was hard. And I had to do it, or I chose to do it.
Wow. And you all, like she said, she chose to do it, but the pandemic, like you said, it just flipped everything. It wasn't like one part of the world was going through this. This was everywhere. And so to even start, a business, not even start a business, but leave, like you said, your comfortable paycheck. And I love what you said, be a better boss to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't say that, her taking that leap, because that was a big leap, right? And a lot of people want it, but how bad do you really want it that you're going to show up every single day? And like she said, setting the boundaries and being a better boss to herself. Like, we got to give ourselves some grace, because I know I judge myself really hard. Like, I'm very critical of, my steps, if I'm feeling stagnant, if I'm not moving. And I've learned over the years not to beat myself up so bad. Like, okay, you didn't get that done today. It's not that you're lazy. You were tired. Go to sleep. Like my crew was telling me, go to sleep. They're always putting in the chat at the end of this, Courtney, go to bed. Because they are when I'm done with this, I'm never going up to here. And they're like, go to bed. And then I hop in the group and then I'm still, and they're like, go to bed. So thank y'all. Thank y'all. So I love that you took the leap, but she didn't say it was just a bed of roses and she's just been, it's just beautiful. Because the people, I think, sometimes people have a misconception of entrepreneurship. Like, y'all, it's work.
Yes, it's so much work. And it looks so sexy. Like you see people post about being entrepreneurs and just the freedom and flexibility and all of the really good things that come with it, with being your own boss. But you don't usually see the ugly stuff, the really stressful days, the days where you don't have the energy to do anything, but you know that you're the only person that's going to get stuff done. So if you don't take steps forward, you're not going to do business. You're not going to make sales. Your business is not going to move forward. So it's really tough. It's really, really tough. And I think right now I'm in the stage of, our world is not back to normal yet. So, and just so you guys all know, I work in the events industry. And as you're aware, events have just disappeared. We've been doing a lot of virtual, which is really great, but in-person conferences, events, traveling, staying at hotels, that world is just still very, very different. So I think I'm in a place where I'm still trying to push through this different world that we're living in, where everything's online. We're all working remotely. We're not traveling. And I'm a little tired. I'm a little burned out. So I've had to be careful with how I'm respecting my space and my boundaries and making sure that I am taking care of myself, so that if, I do decide to continue on this path of entrepreneurship, that I'm doing it in a healthy way and that I'm not totally fried by the time things actually do come back to normal and I'm working even more than I am now.
I love that, because a lot of times even if you're not in entrepreneurship, you can get burned out just from the day-to-day hustle and bustle of, even if you're a stay-home mom, because I don't knock stay-home moms or anything, right? But if we're not taking care of ourselves, because a lot of times we are always showing up, and you all let us know in the chat if this has been you. Have you ever felt so burnt out from the day-to-day routines, not even entrepreneurship, just you may not even be working. It could be just at home, taking care of your family. If you are working a full-time job or two, because Courtney, the reality of it is, with the way things are, and I don't see anything going back to normal, because once you've been through something, even personally, you're never back to that same space. It's always, how do we pivot in this, even in our personal lives? Let's go over to the chat really quick. Attorney Basnight says, stepping out is sometimes the biggest step. Without Step 1, you don't get to step 2 and 3 and beyond. She says, congrats to you, Courtney. So of course, this is my sister, y'all. But Courtney, she's been, she's had her own business now for 11 years.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
But like she even said on the show, it hasn't been easy. She didn't always have an influx of clients. It was continuously showing up. Who's out there saying, you know what, y'all, this is what the F It series is about. You have to have an F It attitude to say, even when I don't feel like it, and I'm not talking about self-care, because y'all, we got to take care of ourselves in order to show up. But even outside of that, those days that you don't feel like connecting with people, you don't feel like throwing up on a little bit of makeup or something to show up. Those days when you're like, okay, I know what my revenue goal is, and it's looking a little right. So now I got to utilize my faith to say, you know what, I'm going to reach this goal, and I'm going to keep working towards that. And so I love that you said set boundaries, ladies. Whoever's out there listening, you got to set some boundaries. I'm talking about on social media. We can't be up here all day.
That is so true. That's so true. And it can be addicting too, you know, like I'm curious to know if anybody here is a little bit addicted to any social media platform. Mine, and this is super nerdy, but mine is LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. That's the platform that I use the most. But sometimes, I mean, I actually turned off the notifications on my phone because it's just too easy to get distracted from being present and staying present in your life outside of work. So that's made a huge difference for me too, Carlika, is just setting that boundary, even with something as small as that.
Yes. I mean, because you're right. It can get addicted. Ladies, so type in the chat. Let us know which platform, social media platform, do you feel like you just can't. Sometimes you get to scrolling and you're up there an hour, 2 hours. And before you know it, you didn't accomplish anything. You're like, wow, I didn't even. And I know some of the stuff is so good, right? Because a lot of us who are up there, we're not posting anything crazy. We're letting you in on our real life, right? We're not just living a social media life, but there are times, Courtney, where I just shut it down. I'm like, you know what? I'm not being present online today. I have enough content up there that's present, and I have boundaries. Dr. Joe says I have set boundaries. I have too, because you can be up here all day. Now, unless you're getting paid to be up here all day, Dr. Joe says hers is Facebook and LinkedIn. So just the end of last year, Courtney, I just started playing on LinkedIn, but I really do like it. And this is a good segue, because that is when I saw how you utilized LinkedIn for your event. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. And I was like, wow. I love that. Selena's like, Facebook. Look, they coming in with like Facebook, LinkedIn. Look, Joy said it's
Facebook groups too. Yeah. There's so many Facebook groups now.
I think because when you're a part of a group and you have that, when you're already loyal, right? You want to show up. And then some people make you feel bad for not showing up. I don't make people feel bad. I will tell them in a minute, I'm not probably going to be in there today. But I would expect them to set the same boundaries. And so, like I said, with the Lemonade Conference, I called it a conference summit. Y'all, it was the bomb virtual event, okay? When I saw how you utilize LinkedIn, and I was like, wow, the groups and everything. And it was just so engaging even before the conference. And I was like, that's really, really dope. And so let's talk about Lemonade, right?
Yes, let's talk about Lemonade. It was so much fun.
Lives of Courtney, right? You all, I'm telling you, you missed it. You all need to go to my Instagram reels, and you're going to see this card that I got in the mail from Courtney. And when I opened the card, I was like, wow! I was like, oh my God, this is so dope. I was like, oh my God, I really love it. And it's those small touches, though, that people are having to add to their events and different things. So someone may be out there saying, you know what? I've been trying, y'all. We can't keep thinking, trying, and wondering that I want to create my own summit. I think I want to create my own event. Look, Courtney is the go-to first.
Yeah, reach out. Feel free to reach out too.
It was great. Tell me about Lemonade. So, Selena, and to all those who are listening, if you have not already, go ahead and share this out. You already know, y'all gonna keep hearing me say that. But Lemonade, you all, was a summit, women empowerment, and I'm just taking it from my own perception. Keep in mind, Courtney and I have never met. Okay, the first time we had a conversation was because I got picked and chosen to speak at the Lemonade Summit. But for me, the women empowerment, people from all over the world, right? Ladies from different aspects of the world, bringing their brilliance, bringing their expertise, bringing their transparency. Like, that was, because that's huge for me. I'm not moved by a lot of people's names and all this stuff, but when you're authentic and transparent and just simply showing up as you, that's what it resonates and attracts me to people. And that's what I felt when I was like, okay, this chick dope as I don't know what. And so the people that was on the panels and the breakout rooms, it felt just like a girlfriend chat. No one was, regardless of expertise and degrees or anything, everyone was just having a good time. And there were so many breakthroughs, you all. And I'm talking about through the chat and everything, where people was like, oh my God, I need to step it up. I want to do something different in my life, whether it's effort, whether it's whatever, they were going to do something. So it was actionable steps. And so I want to know, and our listeners, like, that journey, because I know we can have an idea, but to actually birth it and see it actually manifest and be a huge success, take us through that journey.
Yeah, so I will say, first and foremost, that the creative projects, so a project like Lemonade, where nobody's asking me to do it, nobody expects me to pull off some, women's power summit, like nobody even knows that this is an idea I have. Those creative projects are the first ones to be put at the bottom of the list. And so what I find is that it's easier day to day to just like check the box. And I love making lists. I love crossing things out. Like, that makes me feel good. But the easiest things to do are the easiest ones to check off. And they're not always the most important or meaningful projects that you could be working on, where you really are leaning into your purpose and you're doing something bigger than just your day to day. You're doing something where it's meaningful to you and it's impactful to the people around you. So I wanted to create something that just felt like me. I do so much work for other clients where I show up to their events and I give presentations that feel like me, that are authentic because I've created them, but it's still for a client. And Lemonade was an opportunity for me to create something that was completely my own. Nobody was paying for me to put this together. There were no sponsors. There was no control over the creative process. So I was just started to think about, like, what are those things that make me special and make me excited and make me happy and bring me joy? And I mean, first and foremost, Beyonce. So I was like, if anybody inspires me, like, I love music. I love to dance. I love a fierce, powerful woman. And to me, Beyonce is all of that. Like, she's absolutely, inarguably incredible. And she was the inspiration behind this event. But I knew that pulling it together with music would help to connect people to each other and to the event too, because people are so connected by music. Yes. So every single speaker that I chose had her topic themed after one of Beyonce's songs. So like you mentioned, Carlika, Grown Woman was yours, yes. And you were the opening keynote for the event, and it was the right choice. Like,
oh, thank you.
It was amazing. You did such a great job. I just absolutely just was so proud of you. It was so good and so inspiring. But I really wanted to just do the work. And what actually helped me was telling other people about it and having them get excited about it too, to help hold me accountable. Because again, going back to just knowing myself and getting caught up in the little things that I like to check off, I'm not always the best person to hold myself accountable to the things that take more creative brain power. Mm-hmm. So I told my interns, this is what we're doing. Let's make a plan. Let's work together on this. And I really brought them into the whole process. And even just working with those young girls and having them help me bring this thing to life, they helped hold me accountable and made it more of a team effort. And it just made the whole thing more fun. But it was an amazing day. I think, Carliki, you summed it up really beautifully. And it just, the feedback that I received as the organizer really made the whole thing worth it, where people said, I finally feel seen and I finally feel heard. And
Mhm.
those couple of things are part of my mission to help women feel seen and heard and empowered. So that made the entire project worth it. It was a lot of work, but I'm excited to do it
I'm
again next
sure.
year.
I'm sure, but I'm over here typing some notes on my phone, and so you all, a few things that stood out while Courtney is giving us that journey. You know, you have an idea, but when are you going to actually birth it? And yes, it's going to take some work to birth it, right? It's not like, okay, I want it done.
Yes.
If it worked like that, I would be like $1 million. All right, 2 million.
Yes.
You know, but you all, it doesn't work like that. And so accountability. Who's your accountability partner? And are you holding yourself accountable, right? We have to hold ourselves accountable, but then we surround ourselves with people who are saying, didn't you say you was doing this in like 2 days? Didn't you say you was going to have this done in 2 weeks, 24 hours? So who's holding you accountable? And then collaboration, right? Courtney didn't say, I did this by myself, right? You all ask for help and find the right people to collaborate with. Because I'm sure working with those probably millennials, they probably took it to another level because their energy and they're all in like, oh my God, we can do this and this and this and this. And they're like, didn't you say you was going to do this? I love the millennials because they're not afraid. Right? They are not afraid to go ahead and take the leap. Now, some of them don't count up the cost good enough for me, but they're huge risk takers, right? But I love that energy that they give because it keeps us, it makes us want to push a little further. It makes us want to step out of our box and out of our comfort zone. And so you said being seen and heard. Ladies, how many of us have felt that we're invisible? How many of us have felt that our voice is not being heard? How many of us have felt that we're being too quiet and we're being too silent? You all already know I already say this all the time. Don't be quiet. We can't be quiet. Why? Because your story matters and someone's waiting on you. Someone's waiting on your book. Someone's waiting on your event. Someone's waiting on your book project. Someone is waiting on you to birth whatever is inside of you. And the longer that you sit on it, the longer that you wait, the longer you're going to be agitated and frustrated. It's just that simple. You're going to be frustrated because you understand there's more to me than this, and I can't keep walking around scared. I can't keep playing hide and seek and peekaboo. I told you all, we want to have game night. We can do game night, but we're not playing with purpose. We are developing an effort attitude. So look, you know, I'm going to share it because I would be remiss not to invite you. April 19th, we're having the effort boot camp. It's a one-day boot camp. If you want an effort attitude to sit here and say, you know what, I own my truth. I'm living my best authentic life. And we put authentic in there because some people think they live in their best life, but it's a whole fake life that you're living. When do you say no more? And so, Courtney, I love that you said be seen and be heard, right? Ladies, you don't have to be invisible, but it's up to you to come out. It's up to you to say, hey, I'm here. Hey, this is what I have to offer. This is the value that I bring to the world. This is what I bring. And so I love that you birthed it. I know there's so many. Look, I can't wait till next year to see what you're going to be doing, because it's like once you do one thing in our mind mentally, it's like, okay, how am I going to supersede this? Because this was a grand success. So what am I going to do next?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm super excited about it. And it's great to know that we have such a community that's been built around the event too, you know, that's excited to come back and that, you know, they're going to be honest with you and telling you what they want, what they loved, what they want more of. So I'm super excited to see how inspiration strikes and what that's going to end up looking like.
I'm excited for you, Courtney. I love what you said about putting your own touch on it, putting your own stamp, and knowing, you know, digging a little deeper, you know, what really makes me happy. Because it's one thing when you're serving and supporting your clients, you do have some constraints with that because they have what they want. But to take something and say, what makes me happy? What do I want? And ladies, I want you all to think about that, because a lot of times, a lot of us, when we're asked, what do you want? It's just like this, crickets.
Yeah, I was going to let that silence just hang because it was perfect.
It's like, what do you want? Well, No, that's something you need to think about. What makes you really happy? Because so many times we get caught up with the day to day and everything going on around us that we lose sight of the root of who we really are. You know, and I'm talking about this could be from even, let's go with the external, you know, where you used to really like to dress up or do different things or go places or be a little more outgoing. Now it's like, oh, I'm not doing all of that. But if that's the root of you, because I mean, me throwing on some cute earrings and a little bit of eyeshadow and stuff, I love it. Like, that is me 24. Right. You all are probably like, well, she throwing on a little makeup every show. But this is the thing, you all. I'm manifesting because eventually I want to be on TV and have my own talk show. So I'm manifesting the life that I want. And I'm not going to show up on my talk show unless we having a series where it is bum day or something like that. This is how I'm going to show up. So when the way you want things to happen in your life, you have to show up like it's already there, like you're already in it. Like, I feel like I'm Oprah already on the talk show. I don't want to be Oprah, you all, but I glean and I have watched her, how she grew when no one wanted to even have her on. So where are you going to start at? Right? We're starting right here with StreamYard, and this is where we started. And wherever it goes, that's where it's going to go. But I know what I want. I want to have my own talk show host because I love meeting new people. I love entertaining. It's a little bit of both. You're going to get a little bit of both. I know I'm not a comedy person or anything, a comedian, but I love to interact and engage with people. I love hearing people's backstory and where they're going, where they started, their struggles, their successes, how they did it. That's what I love to do. So let's hop over to this chat. Dr. Joe says, speak out and speak up. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, sisters, you could lose the sight of yourself, especially being a military spouse. Yes. Yes, I think so many military spouses get kind of lost in the sauce especially if they're not the ones, you know, vice versa with the women. I know a lot of women who their spouses are in the military and they have to regroup and redo things every time they move somewhere, even if they're in a career. And I'm just like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, you have to like reinvent your life every single time you pack up and move. And if you have kids too, I would imagine that would be even harder, trying to help them structure a new life every time you move too.
Right. I believe we're always in transition with something. So like you mentioned earlier, like you're not in menopause, but it's a transition. I say menopause is not a disease, but it's a transition. We're always in transition, you all, where we're going to another level. We're not settling. And so when I say you're in transition mentally. I'm not talking about just going from point A to point B. You're looking ahead. Okay, so this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go. In between, how am I going to get from this point to this point? And in the midst of it, how am I going to F it? Because I know I'm going to have some challenges. I know Courtney told us, you know, deciding to go full time as an entrepreneur, the world shut down. Right? Coordinator. So Courtney, let's talk a little bit about that as far as in the event world. Because I do believe like this year, more people are starting to travel a little more because people really didn't take summer vacations and different things last year. But I'm seeing more people like, I'm getting out of here. I need a new scenery. And so how is that looking for events?
Yeah, things are definitely picking up for sure, but not enough yet. So what we're seeing is that people are scared. They're hesitant, they're scared. And some people have gotten comfortable. So there are a couple things happening. Some people have been home for so long that they've gotten comfortable and actually pretty satisfied with working remotely, with being at home. And then there are a lot of other people who are the opposite, where they're like craving to get out and just travel and see friends that they don't live nearby and feel like the world has returned back to some sort of state of normalcy. But in the events world, in terms of when are events actually coming back to life in person, most most event planners are starting to put together their conferences and their events, their networking nights, that kind of thing, toward the end of this year and into 2022. So summer, I think we'll see a little bit of a pickup, but people are still uncomfortable. And a lot of people haven't gotten vaccinated that would like to get vaccinated. So that's stopping people from actually getting on planes. But in terms of vacation, I think that's a little bit different, because with conferences, you could be around thousands of people, which sounds a little bit scary and uncomfortable. But traveling, you're definitely seeing more people take their intimate family vacations, solo vacations, whatever, just to get out, where they feel like they're a little bit more in control of the number of people they're around. So that's definitely true. Things are picking up a little bit faster on that side.
Wow. Because I know a lot of people, you know, the life that we all once knew, right? From even going, when we look at even the movie theaters and different things, and so many of them have had to shut down, but now you can stream everything.
Yes.
It's
cheaper. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you go get your own popcorn, go get your own snacks. My family and I, we actually had a movie night a few weeks ago. But when I think of movie night, I mean, I had the popcorn bags, we had the butter. I mean, we had it all. Everyone got their snacks, and I set everything up on the table as if they was going to pay for it or something like that. But that's how my mind, I was like, if we have the movie night, we have the movie night. And so, with everything being streamed. And so we've all had to pivot. I know some people are like, oh my God, I'm just sick of this Zoom. I'm sick of live streaming. I'm like, this is the world that we're living in. This is what it is. And so we've definitely had to pivot. And so share with us, we have about 10 more minutes or so, about your dare to, do I want to go to that? Actually, I want to know a little more about the meetings too. That really me. That movement from, and you all, as I mentioned before, the meetings too is about helping to address and prevent sexual harassment and assault from happening at events. Courtney, what do you have any stats on how many people go to events and, you know, sexual assault or harassment does happen? I know I've been very reluctant, even in years past, of going to really large events, because every time it seemed like something either broke out or something happened, and I'm just like, okay, you don't really feel safe sometimes. And so give us some insight on that.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. So first, I want to start by saying it's hard to gather data on this stuff because a lot of times incidents go unreported. So that's something that's really important to note, is just that there isn't a great process in general for people to be able to report those types of incidents of harassment or assault. And even if there is a process in place, that doesn't mean that the person's going to feel comfortable or empowered to do so, because maybe somebody else has reported before and nothing happened, or they saw some backlash or consequences that took place because somebody spoke up and pointed a finger at the predator or at the perpetrator. So statistically speaking, I can't say that it encompasses the truth. But what I can tell you is that the data that has been collected specific to the events industry, a survey that was put out a few years ago, captured, I think it was a small group, so it was maybe 100 participants, but 80% of the participants said that they have experienced sexual harassment or assault while in a professional setting, so either at an event or in the office. And furthermore, the majority of those people did not report it. But if we take it even a step further, those of the people who did have the courage and the opportunity to report what had happened to them, the majority of them were dissatisfied with the outcome or the action that was taken.
Let me interject there, because when you said even in the workplace, I remember, and I won't say the place that I was working at, but I was harassed. And I mean, it was to the point that, and I wasn't satisfied with the outcome either. I ended up just leaving the place of employment because this particular person had been there for years, and they pretty much didn't believe me, even though I had witnesses, where I had to start having coworkers literally walk me out because this person started driving different cars.
Oh my
He
gosh.
would move his vehicle and find mine and park next to me. I remember sitting, and I used to go to my car for lunch. And I've never really shared this openly besides to my family. I would go to my car to lunch, lock the doors, and just sit in my car so that I could avoid him at all costs. He literally came to my door one day while I was getting out the car to go back in and tried to kiss me.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm looking like, what is wrong with you? Then he was off one day. I had to work. Do you know he called up to the job? They told him I was busy. He waited on the line for like 45 minutes till I answered the phone, and he was upset. Why is it taking you so long to answer the phone? Sir, what is wrong with you? Now, keep in mind, his wife worked at the place too. Okay. Not the same department. And I was just like, okay. And, I'm sharing this openly because sometimes in the beginning, sometimes we don't realize, if you're just an outgoing, friendly person, I speak to people, carry on about my business and just work. But then coworkers started telling me, oh no, Carly, he really likes you. And I was just like, okay, I don't know why, but I mean, his wife worked down the hallway and I didn't really pay it any mind because I didn't engage in it.
Mm-hmm.
But, that was very uncomfortable. To the point I started having coworkers following me to the parking garage. One particular night, I had them follow me. I said, hey, walk me to my car. And they did. And I said, you all are going to see firsthand yourself what I'm talking about. And one of the guys who walked me and another young lady, they couldn't believe it. My car was parked way up. And so the other guy was like, well, Carly, you can just hop in my car and I'll drive you. I said, okay, yeah, that's cool. Do you know we're thinking this guy is gone? When we start coming down the ramp, he was coming up in his vehicle. We get out of the parking garage. He should be going the same direction they're going. Mm-hmm. He started flashing his lights, following me. What? He was flat, like, I'm really going to stop. And he started flashing his lights. And so I love that you even brought that up because I wasn't satisfied with the outcome at all. They pretty much was just like, are you sure? And I'm like, I have witnesses. Like, they saw him following me and everything. And that, unfortunately, that wasn't the first time. Another guy at the same place, he would always make comments. Mm. And I was just like, those comments are uncomfortable. Like, this is not what you should say on the work. But I report things. I'm not one to just wait because I know a lot of people in these situations, like you said, a vast majority don't say anything. And then the ones that do, nothing is real, like they're not satisfied. And so I would, just try to avoid. So eventually I just left the place of employment. I said, because this is almost like a lose-lose situation for me. Either, even when they try to investigate what they consider investigating, they start trying to pull out stuff on me. And I'm like, what? I'm not even the one. So I definitely felt uncomfortable. And so to anyone, you have to pay attention for these things, even on your work, at your workplace, even those in college, right? And I know Courtney's talking about workplace and events, but I remember an incident in college. Mm-hmm. I used to go up on the third floor and study because it was just quiet. And I like to be by myself, get my work done. I didn't own the room, right? So I couldn't tell someone they couldn't come in there and sit. But and once again, ladies, we got to trust our gut too. Trust that gut feeling. Yeah. And when the man walked in there to sit at the table, I was like, okay, this feels a little weird. So without looking scared, right, and looking like, okay, let me hurry up and get out of here, you subtly do things like, okay, let me pack up. And do you know he shut the door? Oh, this man had to be like over 6 feet. Shut the door. And I kept hearing him across the table make like little comments, but I thought he had headphones or something on, like what he could do to me on the table. And I was just like, is he talking to me? So that's when I was like, okay, time for me to go. And he blocked the door. And literally, I'm standing there, a sophomore in college, with my backpack on and different things, just standing there and like, okay, where do I go? He didn't do anything, but you all, that was, when I say that was scary, he started showing up to my classes, sitting in the classes as if we were some type of couple. I'll see you when you get out. And I'm like, I don't even know him. People are like, Carlika, that's your man? I don't know him. So then I had to have guys that I knew walking me to my car then. And I've never shared these stories publicly, but that really resonated with me because anything could have happened. Mm-hmm. But once again, like you said, someone's not, your story either not being heard or, you know, you're not even recognizing that, oh, is this harassment or is it not? Or do I laugh at this or do I report this? So continue, Courtney, sorry.
No, I'm glad that you shared those stories, Carlika, because unfortunately they're too relatable. I guarantee that there are women in the audience who have experienced something like that, even if it just was that instinct, that gut feeling that you had where something's just not right. And you know you need to remove yourself from that particular experience that you don't want to be a part of. So it's, what happened to you is really scary and not okay. And it's really disappointing that you did end up in that first situation, having to decide to leave your place of employment because they were not supportive of your safety, right. Which is it's your right to be safe in your workplace. Right. So it's too relatable. And I have had similar experiences like that, specifically at events or even in board meetings. So I've served on a couple of volunteer boards before for different organizations and nonprofits. Mm-hmm. And there have been people that I have served with on boards that are in every meeting that I'm in that have made really inappropriate comments or advances or have touched me inappropriately. Wow. My first experience as a young professional out of college was with this events agency. And at the very first conference that I ever worked, and again, we go back to those like conference environments where it is a party. I mean, it's a party. And right. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you're able to keep people safe and have eyes on the party and protocols in place and processes for people to report things if things do happen or if things feel weird or inappropriate. And so I was at this conference that I was working in. It was 400 people that were attending the conference, and it was an athletic group. So these people worked in the hockey sector, professional, whatever. And so it was mostly men. It was like 98% men that were there, and they were all drunk. They were all drunk. They were all having a great time. And again, nothing wrong with that as long as nothing bad happened. But what ended up happening to me is the person who was on site, professional, sober, working, was that when I ended my shift and I went back up to my hotel room, one of our clients that had been drinking and had been partying followed me. Same like stalker kind of situation where he followed me into the elevator. I recognized him, but didn't really know him, was just being polite, making conversation. And he followed me to my hotel room and he kissed me forcibly. And within a couple minutes after that happening, I had pushed him off of me and gone into my room and shut and locked the door. Within a couple minutes, I had received a very inappropriate photo from an unknown number. And as one of the client's hired staff, my number was available to the client. And he took advantage of that and started texting me inappropriately as well. And I wasn't in a position at the time. I was 23 at the time. You know, I'm young. I've never been in a situation like this before. I'm trying to make a good impression, you know, with the people I'm working for. It's my first big conference that I was invited to be a part of. And I didn't have a good relationship with anybody in this small company to even feel comfortable reporting this situation to. And it was the aftermath of trauma emotionally where I was so stressed out that maybe somebody saw this weird kiss thing happening and they thought that it was my fault. Like all that shame that didn't belong to me, I was owning that and holding on to it. And I was stressed, and I never ended up reporting that situation. And I actually ended up leaving the company probably a few months after that for a multitude of reasons. But that wasn't my first incident or my last incident. So there came a point where I had experienced enough of that type of behavior.
Right.
And so many of my girlfriends in the events industry had also experienced that type of inappropriate behavior that I decided it needed to be a bigger conversation. So I started writing for industry magazines about, sharing women's stories. The Me Too movement, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with, started by Tarana Burke. I wanted to create something that was specific to the events and meetings industry. So I started this conversation called Meetings To, and talking about how we could, really leverage the power of this movement in a specific space like events, and teach other event professionals how to actually design and create safe experiences for their people, and how to empower their attendees or their guests to be able to report something if something did happen, and then actually follow up on it, which is obviously the most important part. If we're not happy with the outcome and there's no action taken, then what's the point of even putting yourself in a position that feels extremely vulnerable and uncomfortable?
I love that. And I love that you've given us some insight into that. And that's why I was like, you know what, let me ask about this movement, because you never think about these things to a certain degree. You buy your ticket, you attend, and regardless if you're by yourself or with a group of people, you attend your conference, you attend these events or whatever that looks like, banquets, whatever that looks like, galas, all of these things. And you never think that, okay, something in a professional setting would even would really be so likely to occur. Not that we're novice or naive about these things, but I think about even a conference that I went to, and you meet people, and when you're just automatically just friendly, like I'm a friendly person. Hey, how you doing? I'm gonna smile. That's just my nature. But you have to be so watchful. You have to be so careful. Because even in that situation with you, that could have went a total different way. That could have ended up being just rape.
Yep.
Or, even in my own situations in college or anything, that could have went a whole nother way where I possibly couldn't even be sitting here today, because this man has got obsessed. Like, we watched these movies, and even the one where Beyonce was in.
I was thinking of that one. Yeah.
We watch these movies, but you all, this is real. This is real life, where we may have these harassment trainings and different things, but I don't really think people get the full magnitude and definition of harassment. It's not always someone physically touching you. It could be their conversation that's making you uncomfortable. And a lot of times we don't pay attention to those things. We brush them off like, okay, I'm not just going to pay them any mind. But when some people are so vulgar with it. I mean, I've had men in the workplace, trying to say something about your butt and all of these different things. And it's just like, dude, I got on scrubs and I ain't even got a big butt. Like, what are you talking about? I ain't got, I remember one guy, he simply said, he was like, right, you're not like most Black women. And I said, oh, okay. He was like, yeah, you're not loud and you don't have a big butt and all of these things. And I was just like, oh, okay. I even told him I was married, Courtney. He didn't care.
Doesn't matter.
He did not care. He still, can you meet me here? No, I'm not meeting you anywhere. I want to fly. He was from another country, but he was like, I want to fly you to the, dude, no, I'm not meeting you. I mean, I felt so uncomfortable. Even if I saw him go to the break room, I wouldn't go. Anywhere place that I could avoid him, I would just at all costs, and to the point I'm just like, I just can't keep doing this. And like you said, when you don't have that backing, when you don't have that support for someone else to say, okay, let's really look into this and let's really do something. But because they had years of employment there, that trumped my safety. That trumped what I was feeling, and it was kind of just negated and pushed to the side. So anyone else out there listening, if you've had these experiences, or you may be on your workplace, or attended something even now, and I know now we're in this virtual space and different things, which could be a blessing in so many ways. Right? A blessing in so many ways, not for the event hosts and industry people, but we wanted to open up for you all so that you can definitely do your thing. But when we think of this, you may be on your job and someone's made an inappropriate comment to you. Don't keep letting that slide by.
No, and it is a big deal. That's the thing, is we, I think, give too much grace. We extend too much grace. And it's important to take the time to determine, like, what am I feeling? Why did that feel off to me? What's happening here? Like, it's important to dig into it and have that internal dialogue, but it's also important not to downplay it, not to make excuses, not to brush it off, especially if it's something that's happening over and over again. You have to be your best advocate, because the people around you are not there to be your advocate. If there are people who are supportive of you, or if they're in a position like HR where, yes, it literally is their job to be your advocate, it's great to have that support, but you may not always have that support. So you have to shut it down, and you have to trust your gut. When you feel those weird feelings, something feels off, you're not wrong. So just protect yourself, speak up for yourself, and fight for it too. I think, Carlika, you probably reported what happened to you multiple times and they didn't do anything about it. And you made the decision to protect yourself to leave. And that was the best decision for you. And when I had reported a different incident that happened, I was very dissatisfied with their response, and they put ownership on me to take the next steps forward that would put me in very uncomfortable positions. And I had to stand there and fight for my right to be heard and to be taken seriously. And nobody else was going to do that for me. And it was uncomfortable. And there are consequences. That's not, something that isn't necessarily, just kind of like a fear. It can also be a reality depending on your particular situation. People may look at you differently. People may treat you differently if they don't agree with what has happened, but it was worth it. It didn't really matter to me, how other people would see me. And people still, I still see people treating me differently to this day in those particular circles. And that's fine. Those are not my people.
Look, I agree, you all. And that's an effort attitude. We have a few more minutes, but this conversation was very needed, because there may be someone out there saying, you know what, I've experienced this, or I'm in it right now, and I really was just brushing it off and just get through my shift and go home and just be quiet about it. We're here to tell you, speak up. Mm-hmm. Yes, it may be uncomfortable, but speak up. Get some witnesses as well, right? But you all, even when I had the witnesses, it was like, what? Oh, okay. No, but it was real. It was uncomfortable. It was scary. Because you hear of so many people coming up missing. You hear of so many people being raped. You hear of so many people, date rape and all of these different things. You hear about this, but to be in those situations where someone is trying to block you either from leaving, or someone is making really nasty comments to you, and they're laughing about it, but it's really making you uncomfortable, it is our right to speak up. And this goes for men and women, right, ladies? Because we're not exempt. We're not exempt from harassment either. So a lot of times we have these trainings at work, but to me, they're a little surface level, and a lot of them are not live training. So you may don't even really watch the whole video,
Fast forward and then click OK.
Right. Or you just go ahead and answer the questions or whatever at the end. But Courtney, I love what you're doing with that. Keep doing that, because it's needed. More people need to keep speaking up about it, and you all, this is not just happening in the workplace. This is happening in churches too. Let's be real about it. Like, we're not here to sugarcoat anything. It happens in churches too, where people are being sexually harassed or just harassed in the body of Christ as well. Let's not act like it's not happening. Let's not act like we're going to put on blinders to it to say, oh no, there are leaders, there are members who are being sexually abused or have been sexually assaulted right in church.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say it. And y'all can look at me crazy if you want to, but some of you all have probably been touched, or this is happening in the military. This is happening in homes as well. Let's cover all the bases. This is happening every single day to someone. And you wonder, like Courtney said, the trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is trauma. But we have decided to have an F-it attitude. We have healed, because it takes some healing, because you could be walking around here fearful and paranoid and anxiety through the roof, where you're looking at everyone and everything like, okay, are they going to, okay. Or even if you're in a relationship, now you're backing off and you're pushing them away because you have not healed from that trauma of harassment. It doesn't matter how far it went or how far it didn't go. Harassment is harassment, and that's the bottom line. And so it is trauma. Right? I was a sophomore. I could have went the rest of my college years. I could have be even right now in my life. Like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. Anxiety, you all, it's real. And so we have to deal with it. And that's what F-it is all about. Faith in it, facing the challenges. We had to face these challenges. Yes, they were uncomfortable. Yes, very. But we know it's someone else out there that's saying, you know what? I've experienced the same thing. And I never spoke up about it. Because, Courtney, what I'm finding and even seeing more and more, that so many people wait years to speak up. Mm-hmm. And you all, like I said, you all have never heard me share this even openly. And until Courtney was saying something, I was like, wait a minute, that was me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If there is, like, I mean, there are a few, but if there's one really cool part of the Me Too movement in general, it's how supported women felt and how inspired, not just women, but how inspired people felt to speak up because somebody else did.
Yes.
It's a domino effect. And to be honest, that's probably what fueled me to continue doing this work, is as uncomfortable as it is to stand up on a stage in front of hundreds of strangers and share my story. My purpose is to help educate them, create awareness, or to inspire somebody else, even one person in the audience, to feel empowered enough to speak up for themselves. And that's what happens. That was one of the greatest outcomes of the Me Too movement in general, was that so many people decided, I've had enough.
Yep.
And F-it, I'm going to tell my story too.
I'm going to tell it. And so we appreciate you for that. You all, that's why it's so important that you share your story, because it's going to resonate with someone. It may be the starting of a healing process for someone else to say, wow, she's brave, she's bold, she's courageous enough to say, you know what, that was me. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you all right now, that was me on multiple occasions, not just one. I shared 3 stories with you all. That was me. But we had to make a choice to say F-it. So Courtney, you all make sure that you connect with Courtney. This is her website. Follow her on Courtney. I want to say, what's your Instagram?
Courtney on stage.
Courtney on stage, you all. Go follow her, connect with her. You want to stay in tune. If you're not on LinkedIn, she's on LinkedIn. That's her favorite now. So follow her on LinkedIn so that you can stay up to date with all of the amazing things that she is doing. All of her information is on her website, really dope website, dope Instagram. She's always providing value. And so, Courtney, any last words of encouragement or wisdom that you would like to tell our listeners?
I just want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank you, Carlika, for having me on. I think these conversations are so, so important. And I identify and appreciate so much with your responsibility and your purpose-driven mission to have real conversations and not to sugarcoat anything. I think we need more of those. So I'm just very appreciative for being here today. And I want to connect with everyone who is here too. So I look forward to getting to know you better.
Thank you, ladies. Show Courtney some love in the comments. If you're catching this in the replay, hashtag replay. Ladies, you already know, go ahead and share this out because this was good information. Selena says very good information. It gives us something to think about. Sometimes we just need a reminder to refresh ourselves so that because sometimes we get so comfortable in our day-to-day things. And so now this is just a refresher to say, you know what? We still got to pay attention. And we can't be silent, you all. We have to unmute yourself, unmute yourself to say, you know what, whatever I did go through, I'm not going to be silent because someone is waiting on me to show up. And so once again, ladies, connect with Courtney. Once again, if you are looking for a community, that you say, hey, I need a community of women who are praying for me, who are pushing me, who are willing to praise me, which we're not putting you as a little god or anything, but we're willing to clap for you and cheer for you all as well. Go ahead and join our Women Who Pray group. We do have our first devotional that we're working on, and we would love to have you a part of it. And then lastly, of course, April 19th, the Effort Boot Camp, you all, the slots are filling up fast. So you want to go ahead and get yours. And if you're saying, look, I want to be a part and I want to be on the Effort series, all you have to do is inbox me and I will send you the link for that as well. Once again, this is Courtney's website. Make sure you connect with her because you all do not want to miss her next summit. You don't want to miss it. I'm telling you. And all the amazing things that she's doing. She has a new workshop and training and all these things coming up. Get in on it. Get in on it. So let's go over here. Selena says, we thank you, Courtney. Right, you are. I'm not bringing people up here who are going to sit up here and be fake and phony and have a mask on. We're having real conversations with real women, real issues, real solutions, right? We're not stuck. We're overcoming. We are effing it up in the world. Faith in it, facing it, and fulfilling it. Dr. Joe says, thank you, Courtney. So everyone is appreciative because you all look, real conversations. This was a transparent conversation. And it's giving you something to think about. And that's what we want you to do. Be empowered to take action, right? Even after this, take action. You already know what we do at the end. Let me see those efforts in the chat. Effort. Let them come through. And y'all already know what I'm getting ready to do. Jump in the BED, but I have enjoyed this time. I have to go to work. I have to go to work at 1 a.m. in the morning, but I enjoy doing this and I refuse not to show up, right? So we have no excuses. I'm not giving anyone any excuses. Show up. Do what you're going to do. I see you, Selena. So once again, to our listeners, make sure you share this out. And we thank you all for showing up. And Courtney, once again, I thank you for saying yes, 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 yes. This was an amazing conversation in meetings too. You all, I don't know what else you take from it, but if anything, take this from it. Pay attention to your surroundings. Speak up and let's join forces so that we can keep empowering each other. I say girlfriends empower girlfriends because Courtney is my girlfriend, just like you are. So Courtney, thank you for your time. I appreciate you and I look forward to collaborating, connecting, and staying connected with you and seeing all of the amazing things that you are doing out here. Keep effing it up in the world, Courtney. We see you and we are watching you and I'm proud of you. And I'm proud to be in your circle because you ain't getting rid of me, okay?
No. No, you're stuck with me, that's for sure. Thank you so much, Carlika. This was awesome. And I can't wait to see what we do together in the future too.
Yes. Well, have a good evening, everyone. And remember, when you change your perspective, you change your life. I am Carlika Katrina Basnight-Menendez. Yes, all of that. You all have an amazing evening, and we'll see you back on tomorrow.